Hello, and hey, welcome. Uh, Real quick, 5 minutes is what I got to talk about alerts, skytruth.org for healthy golf employees. Need you to sign up, register alerts, skytruth.org. It tells you about all of the incidents and accidents that we have. It's a great service, and we need to promote it even to local groups. But we at Healthy Golf, I think we have a value add. The more that environmental monitoring comes online, the more disasters happen. We often are in a place in a communications role where we have to provide context because journalists don't do the research. And even though the public is very hungry for context, and journalists, I think, want context, they need, someone to have access to this very available public information that they don't have time to look at. This positive view at least. So go to alerts.skytruth.org, create a login. You can do this without a login, but logging in helps you save maps and also gives you access to ongoing satellite imagery. So we might have satellite imagery of this chlorine disaster from last week. People are scared when the news just says, hey, look, stuff is happening, but it's normal, or there's no news and we're trying to make news like, hey, Louisiana polyethylene's on fire. And I think people really want to know, this is the 10th time this year that this flare has gone off in Westlake. If the news just reported that, people would be a lot more trusting than if, the news says, and everything is fine, but people get scared and they call me, they call Rashetta, they call people asking what to do. This happened in St. James last week with the chlorine. The LSP is on site. We evacuated 150 people, but they also say this is a household chemical and there's nothing wrong with it. I think the young man at LSP was trying though, because in one interview, he dropped the hint that, and this is a industrial chemical used in metals refining, like hint, Nucor, hint. But it's scary because you can see like these people, even when they're good behind the camera, they seem like they're hostages. And it scares the hell out of people. So although this incident, while bad, was limited to an area within a mile of the spill on the East Bank, seems like that was true. People didn't trust it, and I had people calling me from 30 miles away. Um, anyway, people are scared. If you go to alerts, Sky Truth, you can zoom in to St. James and instantly see some things just by zooming in. You've got the St. James area. You're kind of limited. You can't say St. James strictly because you have to do the box, right? But in the box is St. James. You can see how long the list, when the default is to give you 100 incidents, and you can go down, scroll down the timeline to see that since May of 2019, we've had 100. May of 2019 giving you 100, that tells you something about the box, right? We've got a lot of incidents, and this is information that people know. They know this stuff is happening, but it would be great if the news said a little bit more about it. So, the other thing is to communicate that in like monthly or annual, so that 100 incidents since May 2019, you could say 33 incidents a year, right? A couple of incidents a week just in this area. We can also query for something because we want to know about chlorine. Well, there's a keyword search here. But see that even just turning this stupid thing on, you can get some context. Like we could say national response, the chlorine leak in St. James is going on. National Response Center says we've got 33 incidents a year. It both is a little reassuring, I think, but also troubling about the long-term effects. I think that's just being honest. It's a kind of objective information that I think would go a long way. But let's say we want to look at chlorine. We can type chlorine in a keyword search and get the last 7 incidences in St. James and even that little bit of St. John Parish we have. Look, it pops up. We've got one incident that was a community reported from a ship. If you click on the red dot either on the left or on the map, it gives you up like the narrative from the report. Caller stated there's a strong chloride odor from a vessel docked on the river. Okay, this was a citizen complaint about an odor. The rest are associated with chlorine storage at Occidental Chemical. So, we could look at this and then tie the chlorine emissions to a facility, which is really what people want to know. That's what LSP was trying to communicate without getting sued. 6 of the 7 chlorine incidents in St. James Parish since 2016 are related to the Occidental Chemical plant near Romeville, right? And then, if we're working with Ms. Barbara Washington, I would also email Ms. Barbara because that's where she lives. So we have to ask, the press, and we have to ask emergency management, and we have to ask LSP, is this chemical tank related to OxyChem or the nuclear facility? So just imagine, if you would, what we could do if the news came out and said, hey, this is a harmful chemical. And if they said, a bunch of these incidents are related to the local plants. Imagine if we had Miss Sharon say that when they cut to her in the news, if we had one of us say that in the news. I think people would be able to contextualize the scope of this disaster with real information. I think we want to hear the local officials say, and it'll get better. That's the dream. You can also download the information like we did after Ida, and do other analyses on it. That's a future training. I think I want to lead people in an exercise later about Westlake, because we have the same thing where Rashida reported the Saysol fire that happened on October 15th, reported it to us. Actually, LDQ could probably use that information. But Michael's question was, how many times has this happened? And then we can use SkyTruth to quickly zoom in and see, how many times has this happened in the Sulphur, Westlake, Lake Charles area that's on this map? How many Saysol incidents? How many fire incidents? How many incidents from Laura or a named storm? I think especially after Isaac, the name of the hurricane goes into the report, so you can query it by the name of the storm. Is it a rail? And some safety things are fatalities. So fatal, is a text string you can search for, or injury. Or maybe injure without the Y, because if it's injuries, it might miss it. But I think when you do a training, you could try that out, see what you get, see what kind of context you can get to bring bring communication to these things. So we can digest this in a pinch, give it to journalists, give it to the local activists so that they can then help the journalists fulfill their ethical duty to provide context to chemical spills on the Gulf Coast. All right, that's all. Yeah, it's all about service. How do we serve people the best? All right, thanks.